Be sure to see while I'm getting myself something to eat here before going to bed. I thought I'd tell you a few things about myself. One is, in my senior year in high school in Bethesda, just about every night when I went to sleep, I played a record of Burt Bacharach's songs sung by a black woman. What was her name? She was like his favorite singer. I forget. Dionne Warwick. I don't know why I did that, but I did every night. Now, did I get any kind of sexual energy from that? No. No, it's just, it was pleasant music, that's all. And, one of the songs was Do You Know the Way to San Jose? I liked that song a lot. And, down in my red bedroom, was in the basement. I had two posters on the closet doors of my room. There were two sliding doors. One was, I guess it was Wilt Chamberlain, the basketball player. I don't think it was Bill Russell, but I swear to God, I can't keep the two apart. Really in my mind, I think Bill Russell, I don't know who they played for, really. They were both about the same size. They both looked very much alike to me, because I never saw them up close. I saw them in pictures with great distance, and I didn't see them in basketball games, on TV. So, they were stars, Also, I didn't know about Wilt Chamberlain. I think it was Wilt Chamberlain, that he went to bed with 20,000 women over the course of his life. I didn't know that at the time. I learned that much later. That staggering fact about him. Now, the other was a picture of another basketball player. I think it was Earl the Pearl Monroe, who had played for the Baltimore Bullets. These were two African-American players. Did this matter to me? No, I liked these guys. These were stars in basketball. I liked them. The fact that they were African-American had nothing to do with anything. They were great basketball players, and I liked them for that reason. Now, they were featured in my room, okay? And when I was going to bed at night, I was listening to a black woman singing on an album that played, the entire side of the album till it stopped and the thing turned off. Why I was doing that, I don't know, but I liked Burt Bacharach's songs, and that was his favorite singer. I liked her voice, and my favorite song was Do You Know the Way to San Jose? Is it a favorite song of mine now? No, but at that time I liked it. Now, I just thought I'd tell you these things. No particular reason. If we were actually together, I guess this is the kind of thing we tell each other, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be? I mean, I haven't had a hearing friend since I was 25 years old, where I had conversations like this. So, I don't know. My deaf wife, she's not interested in Burt Bacharach. I'm not criticizing her, by the way. I'm just stating facts. She's not interested in Burt Bacharach, Dionne Warwick, and other things, obviously, because she can't hear. So this kind of thing is of no interest to her. I wouldn't even bring it up, and I never did, and I probably never will. But you being hearing, I might tell you something like this. So anyway, I'm looking forward to having you as my hearing friend. We can talk about just about everything we want to. And I haven't talked to anybody in over 40 years, more than that. So those are some of the things I'm thinking about tonight. It may have passed over midnight. Let me check my watch. It says 1 minute after midnight. So it's now the 15th of May, 2026. Here's a story that America's Man of the Year once told me. There's nothing special about it. I'm just thinking about it. Okay. Maybe it's the chair I'm sitting in. I don't know why I'm thinking about it. Anyway, he was saying that, like once a year he'd go on these golf outings where apparently a bunch of doctors all went together, like, I don't know, to the Caribbean. I wasn't even sure where they went. Probably because I wasn't listening too closely to the Man of the Year, although it was, seeming to be listening. But even I didn't know that I wasn't really listening till now when I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to explain why that might have been. Anyway, he's telling me that him and these doctors, that they go on this golf outing together. And he's telling me, he says that he was in I think it was like a movie theater with these doctors, okay? And there were these young guys. Now, these are doctors who are middle-aged. They're older than middle-aged. These are moving toward retirement age. I guess 50s, 60s, that age, okay? They're still a going concern. They're not as bad off as I am. In terms of health and all. They're stronger than I am, and they play golf, so you got to carry one of those back. Well, they pay someone to carry it. Anyway, he's saying that he was in this movie theater, and he's, doctors are sitting next to him, and men, this is the kind of thing he'd say, men, And I'm supposed, oh, really? So he says these young guys, I guess in their 20s, I'm assuming, they were, having fun themselves, talking and so on. And one of the doctors, he said, I guess sitting next to him, went like this on the shoulder of one of those guys to get him to be quiet. And the Man of the Year said that young guy, he turned around in his seat and he grabbed that doctor by the shirt. He picked him up like that. And he straightened that guy out for doing that. The Man of the Year was let me know that that happened to that doctor from that young guy. That's all. And that's the way he told it. He told it, when he told stories like that, he told them demonstratively. Okay? So he was saying that later, these guys, I guess they rented a room together. He said at one point, this man came up and was banging on the door like this. He said, he or somebody opened up the door and he said, it was one of the doctors, and the manager says, he was drunk and he was banging on the door. Men, That's what I'm supposed to be enjoying this story. Well, I did, but I wasn't enjoying it, I don't think, the way he wanted. And I'm just remembering it because, like I said, I'm still laughing at things the Man of the Year told me. But I realize now suddenly that I'm not quite laughing maybe the way he wanted me to be. I probably never was. And I'm thinking of other things now too, but I just tell those stories at another time. That's all from me for now. Bye for now. I want to make this footnote. The Man of the Year had a thing about young men, like that guy in the theater who grabbed that doctor and pulled him up like this for tapping on his shoulder like that. And that doctor quickly backed down from any kind of confrontation with that guy. Okay? He straightened that guy out. Don't do that to me, he was saying. Okay? Now, the Man of the Year had a thing about young guys like that, especially if they were muscular. Now, I've told the story about the sledding night when I was 5 years old over there in Forest Glen, when we're sledding down this hill one night. And sometimes I'm riding on Uncle Fred's back, and sometimes I'm riding down on the Man of the Year's back on a sled. And, well, it so happened that I didn't see the interchange between the Man of the Year and this young guy who challenged him to a fight. I didn't see that. By the time I got there, what I saw was every time I came down the hill on Uncle Fred's back, the crowd down there cheered. And every time I came down on the Man of the Year's back, the crowd booed. And it was, for a 5-year-old, it was weird and scary. Okay? But so what I remember is, I guess I'd just come down on Uncle Fred's back, and that interchange had happened between the Man of the Year and this young guy. So when I saw the Man of the Year in my memory now, he's like saying, "All right, AJ, come on in the house with me." He's picking me. He always did this. I got to go in the house with him. And so we go inside the apartment, which is not far from that road. And we get inside, just inside, and he's saying to me, "That guy," he said, he wants me to fight him. He took off his coat and he had these big muscles. And so when he's talking to me that way, what was I thinking? I've told this story many times, but I was thinking, you're a coward. You're a bully yourself. You picked on this guy, and then he came back at you, and you backed down. My little 5-year-old mind was thinking just like that while he was talking to me. However, the point I want to make is that he had this thing about the muscular young guy, the guy with muscles. So I thought about the guy in the theater there who turned around and grabbed that doctor and pulled him up like this, right? And then I think about the guy who challenged the Man of the Year to the fight when the Man of the Year was drunk and bitching at those young people, I guess. I didn't see the interchange. I was busy. I was on either Uncle Fred's back or his back. And when I was with him, he wasn't, as I recall, he was not mouthing off to those kids when I was with him. So the night he went to see Deliverance with my mother, okay, it was around the time that movie came out. I was in the family room of our house in Bethesda, Maryland, where I did most of my growing up, on Sebago Road. And I was sitting there watching TV. It was like around 11 o'clock at night, let's say. I don't remember how old I was, anywhere from late teens, early 20s, probably late teens. And so he's saying to me he went to see this movie. He brings it up. He said, "Well, we went to see this movie, boy." He said, "Wow." He said, "What happened in that movie? These men," I don't exactly know what he said, but I got the picture that a male rape had happened, and this is the first time I'd ever heard anything like this from him. And so he said, "But this guy with these muscles, that's that actor, what the hell is his name? Burt Reynolds. I think that's his name, Burt Reynolds. He had big muscles, and he had a bow and arrow, and he came up behind that rapist, and he sent an arrow right through the rapist's heart, for doing that." So he said, "This guy with the big muscles came up." So I said, "Wow, what a movie." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Wow." I said, "Yeah, I hope that kind of thing never happens to me." I mean, the rape, not getting hit by the arrow. After he's finishing his story, I said, "Wow, I hope that kind of thing never happens to me." And he says, "It might." That's what he said. Now, at the time, I didn't know he'd been sexually abusing me because as I've been able to reconstruct this crime he was committing on me, he kept me asleep by etherizing me. So, I didn't know it had been happening. So there's more incriminating evidence. I've told this story several times already, but I'm thinking about it for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, I was saying, while I was getting something to eat, that if you and I were together, we would be able to talk freely like this. And, I'm wondering what it would be like. I really am. I guess I haven't talked this way really since I was able to talk this way with my mother. We're talking before she started to withdraw into her own rheumatoid arthritis problems and her distancing from me. So we're talking like back to the age of 16 or before, where I felt I could talk freely with someone I could trust. Now, I can trust my wife 100%, right? But, if I talk to her, it's in sign language, and she's not interested in these kind of things. She just is not. Okay, because she's a deaf person. Deaf people have suffered immensely. They don't want to hear about, the intricacies of your suffering. They don't want to hear. I guess, at least my wife, she suffered plenty. So I'm theorizing that's the reason. But deaf people have a different way of perceiving reality. Oh God, I went to Gallaudet. I got to be careful. What I want to say is, take for example humor, right? Try to tell a deaf person a hearing joke. Now, I've done this with more than just my wife. Try to tell a deaf person a joke that you think is funny as a hearing person. You know what you're going to get? Well, if you grew up in a deaf household, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get this. There's nothing. They don't get it at all. Nor do they respond to whatever laughter's on your face. You go, it's just like this. They don't get it. It's not there for them. So a lot of my perceptions as a hearing person, they do get that kind of response from my wife because she's in a world where the kind of things that have been concerned to me, these are alien to her completely in the kind of world she's lived in. I'm just theorizing now for the first time that could be the reason. It's not because she's uncaring or she doesn't love me. It's because the same reason that a deaf person cannot understand hearing world humor the way hearing people do. It's just, like I say, I'm putting this into words for the first time in my life. This is an alien type experience for them. They don't experience humor, which is, for hearing people, has a lot to do with wordplay and the way the story is told with words. None of those words mean anything to the deaf person. So, anyway, if you and I were together, we could talk this way. I'm looking forward to it, although a part of me saying, are you kidding? Do you really believe that this is going to happen? And a large part of me is saying, how? How could this possibly? I'm going to be talking to a gorgeous dream come true woman like this. Well, I'm going to keep the dream alive. But do I really believe it? What I've been saying to myself is the kind of abuse that I've lived in for most of my life makes me comparable to victims who have been severely abused, And when you are a victim like that, if you're going to be rescued from that abuse, I'm thinking to myself, does it matter whether you believe or what you're thinking at all? If you've been being severely abused in your life and you need to be rescued, you're either going to be rescued or not. It doesn't matter what you think. And, what I'm thinking about is people in concentration camps. There's the classic example of people who are being severely abused. Now, did it matter what they were thinking in there? I've read accounts of people who were in those camps, and I was intimate with a person who was in one. And from what I can conclude in having done reading like that and had a friend who I could talk to about these things, I don't believe it matters or ever mattered what was on the minds of those people in those camps. What was on the minds of those people is what's on my mind, surviving every day. They were either going to be saved from that camp or not, no matter what they thought, right? So, I'm watching this movie, The Little Engine That Could, which I got way back in the 1990s, and I still have it, watch it once in a while. And it says, if you believe something, it'll come true. Well, I'm not sure that I agree with that. In my experience in life, there have been times when I've been absolutely believing and I hit catastrophes in the midst of all that belief. So by now, as an old man, I say, if I'm actually going to get rescued, it doesn't matter what I'm thinking. It doesn't matter. That's what I'm saying. And well, bye for now.